Hello again. When people have well-paid jobs which entail them fighting against some ideology or activity, then they have, of course, a vested interest in seeing that whatever they are supposedly opposed to continues to flourish. Eradicate it, and they're out of a job. This is a general rule in society and applies even to things such as the police and judiciary, just as much as it does to charities working against some supposed evil or other. Just imagine what would happen to all those senior police officers and judges if people stopped breaking into other people's homes or no longer carried out murders and rapes. An entire industry is based upon crime. Or what would happen to the RSPCA if everybody began treating animals with kindness and nobody was cruel? Although this is in theory the ideal world to which they aspire, it would leave many people currently drawing good salaries in a bit of a pickle if there was no more cruelty to animals. The same thing applies to the charity Hope Not Hate. They are doing very well indeed financially, and their stock in trade is racial and religious prejudice, hate crimes, and so on. If we all started being pleasant to each other and respecting each other's cultures, then Nick Lowles and his chums might have to get proper jobs. I will at once admit that I'm not all that favourably disposed towards this crew. They certainly have it in for me, of course, but I hope this does not prevent my being objective about the organisation. I think that they deliberately stir up mischief and provoke trouble between different ethnicities and religions as a kind of job creation scheme to justify the funding which they receive from various sources. A couple of instances of their tactics should make this a little clearer. During the disturbances in some English cities last summer, which followed the Southport tragedy, the police cracked down hard on people posting what was seen as inflammatory rumours on social media sites. Some people were arrested for doing so. Not hope, not hate, of course. At the height of the hysteria and disorder, Nick Lowles, the head of Hope Not Hate, tweeted that a Muslim woman had had acid thrown over her, a story which was quoted by a number of angry Muslims to justify vigilante activity on their part. There was not a word of truth in the story, and it appeared to be an attempt to foment trouble between Muslims and everybody else. Then too, Lowles was routinely tweeting about where he claimed that disorder was occurring. Whatever his actual intentions, the result was to create tense atmosphere. It looked to me as though he was having a whale of a time during those disorders. A couple of months later, a documentary was made with the cooperation of Hope Not Hate, which purported to draw the attention of the world to an American billionaire called Andrew Convery, who was financing people and organizations via his foundation. We were supposed to believe that this had previously been a secret, and that if it weren't for Hope Not Hate, the whole shadowy enterprise would have carried on and no one would have been any the wiser. Of course, viewers of this channel would have known already about the Convery Foundation, but I've released a video on the subject in 2021. Giving links and describing it. This was 3 years before Hope Not Hate pretended to make their revelations. The whole supposed expose was a piece of nonsense designed to stir people up and create unease. Hope Not Hate set out to portray themselves as fearless investigators who were determined to reveal the Convery Foundation to the world. It was pure theatre. Hope Not Hate are not getting quite as much funding as they used to a year or two back, and so they have to appear now ever more active in combating the far right to justify being given more funding. They need a folk devil whom they can claim to be fighting, and the far right fit the bill perfectly. The difficulty is, of course, that there are only a tiny number of genuine fascists in Britain, nowhere near enough to justify an expensive campaign such as that waged by Nick Lowles and his chums, so the nature of the threat has to be talked up and exaggerated. This is why I say that these people are mischief makers, because their very comfortable existence, they're very well paid, they get on, they're doing okay for themselves. It all depends upon persuading people that there is a great danger from right-wing folk. Because they're having difficulty actually finding such people, folk not hate are having to invent them and encourage others to believe in non-existent threats to them. It is a dangerous game to play, and I rather think that they have lately been overplaying their hand in no small measure.